Hey everyone, we're back from the week-long break. Hope you all had a good Easter, and now this upcoming Saturday night, we're back at the short tracks, this time at Martinsville. But of course, before we get into my picks for Martinsville this Saturday night, let's take a look back 2 weeks ago at the Bristol Dirt race. To sum it up, it was a rather filthy week for fantasy at the Bristol Dirt. I can score around 135 points and it's still a top 58,000 result. You really had to have a lot of specific drivers if you want to have very good points. Outside your Denny Hamlin and your Joey Logano, you had drivers from the likes of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ryan Newman, Daniel Suarez, and Eric Jones all getting 30 and above points. And a lot of big favorites heading into that race, such as Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, they would crash out, being outside the top 25 at the very end, and would just be a big blemish for a lot of common rosters. And looking back on Jackuwarz 1, fortunately I did not start Kyle Larson, but he was in my bonus picks, and with that crash, it only took away the 20 points I could have gotten with those bonus picks. So instead I only had Christopher Bell to garage, which right after his crash made it very easy for all of my lineups to garage pick. Of course, results for him weren't too similar for some of the other drivers in this lineup, like Dillon or Alex Bowman. Both of those drivers, along with Kyle Busch, would all get caught up in a late pile-up crash. All three were able to continue, leaving only Tyler Reddick and Byron to lead some semblance of decency throughout this entire lineup. We got Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin covered in the bonus picks, but seeing the amount of points they got by the end of the race, it would have been nice to have him in the starters. Elliott didn't do any better, matter of fact a lot worse. Chase Elliott was a fringe top 15 driver all race long, but unlike some other drivers, did bring it home for an okay result, then again nowhere near along the line of what you should get from Chase. Same story with Kevin Harvick. I honestly thought he would have done a little bit better at Bristol, but I suppose Dirt is just that much different than the normal Bristol. Ryan Blaney got the most points here, 35. Well, the only one that got more than 30 points. And of course, no bonus picks correct. If Martin Truex didn't have the incident he had on the last restart, possibly could have gotten that over Denny. And at a blistering amount of 115 points from Pick Stenhouse. Yeah, also not very good results here either. We got another good points turnout with the 47 car at a good healthy 42. But unfortunately the rest of this lineup wouldn't see more than 21 points. Chase Briscoe was a big disappointment, which turned out to be a good choice not to include him in my main lineups. You can copy and paste some of the things I said about Jackuwarz 1 with Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch here, including Kirk Bush as well. And no bonus picks here either. Showing those first three lineups, ooh, it got real rough. Okay, which no Chevy got? Whoa, what's this now? 205 points. Okay, so we got Ryan Newman with that 41 points. And yeah, we got the okay results from Matt DiBenedetto, Kyle Busch, and Michael McDowell. Then of course sticking in Joey Logano in the lineup, that really paid off. It was only because it was no Chevy's third time playing Logano, and the idea of Ford winning was just in case if the rest of my lineups with Chevy and Toyota, which turns out that was the winning move. And then there's Jackuwarz World Network. Not a huge difference from swapping out Byron and Ryan Newman. And the bonus picks that don't include Joey Logano or Denny Hamlin as their top manufacturer results in no bonus points there. And so a top 70,000 overall result is the kind of mediocrity that World Network has been through in these first 7 races of the season. Looking at the top 5 drivers with the most points from Bristol Dirt, we got race winner Joey Logano with 15 stage points for a total of 55. Denny Hamlin with 50 points with the third place finish with 16 stage points. Big surpriser that I bet only 0.5% of players that actually played him. Daniel Suarez, he would have gotten you 49 points with his 4th place finish and 16 stage points. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with his 42 points, 7 of those being stage points with his runner-up finish. And then the 5th most is Ryan Newman with 41 points with his 5th place finish. That includes 9 stage points. So that was no doubtably a really rough fantasy week 2 weeks ago. But now it's time to brush yourselves off. It's Martinsville. A lot of usual drivers should be doing good, and as opposed to the Bristol Dirt, it's expected to be a really easy fantasy week. That being said, I'm throwing caution to the wind when it comes to saving uses for here and next week at Richmond, and worry about saving uses at Talladega, because the amount of points that these top drivers can give you, I would not pass them up. And with short tracks, the more experienced drivers, they should thrive over oddball drivers that we've been seeing the past few weeks. So that all being said, just go for the one that you think might be getting you more points. Driver Insight has come back, and Joey Logano is on pole. He won the 2018 playoff race here, and minus falling off the pace after stage 2 in the March 2019 race, and getting a tire rub from Kyle Busch in the 2017 playoff race. Then Logano has 7 top 10s in the last 9 Martinsville races. In the last 7 Martinsville races, he's made sure to earn plenty of stage points, more than 4 at the very least. And this play will strictly come down to, will Logano hold that pole position? He certainly didn't do that when he had the pole in the March 2019 race, so you can look at it one or two ways. You can load up on Penske drivers like Logano, or you can go with the Joe Gibbs camp, including one of the masters of Martinsville and Denny Hamlin, starting alongside Logano. Now, Hamlin didn't finish inside the top 10 in either of the 2020 races. That's not to forget his rough outing in the June race, where the car just missed the setup that week. Then again, Hamlin is on a very good start to the season, and if you're looking for a very safe bet and someone to guarantee you good points, then Hamlin is absolutely it. For being the points leader so far, you'd think that this would be the week to get Hamlin his first win in 2021. I'm seeing it that way, and or maybe Penske. You could get a lot more points from Hamlin at Richmond as opposed to Martinsville, and putting use concerns into consideration. In the next 2 upcoming races, you could probably get away with not using Hamlin at Martinsville, and instead favor Richmond. Just be sure to load up the bonus picks on him, if you do so. William Byron is starting 3rd, and don't let the average finish fool you. Most of that has been tainted by the result he had in last November's race, because right before it, he's got 2 top 10s here. 8th place finish in last June's race, and of course that unforgettable runner-up dash in October 2019's race. But still, your reasons for playing Byron at Martinsville is more so because of his hot streak this season after winning Homestead, more so than his past statistics here. I'm looking at him as a good safety blanket for good points, similar to Denny Hamlin, and starting 3rd, that should get him on the right track for that. A lot of my lineups have a lot of Byron plays sitting around. Optimally, it would have been nice to have a lot more played, and instead we're looking at, say, 5 or 6 Byron plays left at this point. Ryan Blaney is starting 4th, and another Penske driver that should be an absolute must-play for Martinsville, which his stats here are through the roof. He has a pair of 2 runner-up finishes in the 2020 races, and a top 10 streak that dates back to the 2019 March race. And if not for a 20th place finish in the October 2018 race, then it could have been 7 all the way back to October 2017. So of course, this is one of many tracks that Ryan Blaney always makes sure to get plenty of stage points. And after very good runs at Bristol Dirt and Atlanta, he's primed for another good run here. At the very worst, Blaney should be in your garage. If you're somehow looking at saving Blaney for this week, I wouldn't. Because him and this next driver, Chase Elliott, starting in 5th, these are the drivers you want to build your lineup around. Because like Blaney, Elliott's stats here at Martinsville are amazing. To one-up Blaney, Elliott won the most recent race here last November, and has to a degree earned just as much stage points here as Ryan Blaney has. At any number of uses, I would recommend playing Elliott. Only one issue in the October 2019 race, where I believe he had some mechanical issues early on, and then could never get back to the front, being multiple laps down, being relegated to a 36th place finish. Not thinking about that, Elliott is a top play. Must play, in fact. That should get you monster amounts of points. In 7th is Martin Truex Jr. He too gives you lots of points and a lot of top 10 results. He might not have done that in last November's race, having to pit for a loose wheel, I think, in the closing laps of the race, relegating to a 22nd place finish. But the 2 races before, he's won in dominating fashion. Well, the October 2019 race, he kind of stole the race in June. And among the big 3 Joe Gibbs Toyotas, it's dead heat between either him or Denny Hamlin you should start from that camp this week. At uses for most of my rosters, they're down to say 7, so I'm leaving all the options on the table on what I think is the best combination for maximum points. So not much different to say about Truex at Martinsville, other than it's one of his more consistent tracks on the schedule. This and Richmond coming up next week. Rounding out the top 10 starting grid is Brad Keslowski. He has the best average finish in Martinsville in the last 6 races. And you have to go way back to the November 2015 race. Yeah, that bloody mental race, where he's finished outside the top 10. Keslowski won the April 2017 race, and again in March 2019. This one in dominating fashion, winning all 3 stages. And consistently, Keslowski has been a top 5 contender for the last 5 races here. And amongst the 3 Penske drivers, I like Keslowski the best. Blaney is a very close second here. For most of my lineups, I'm considering starting him along with Joey and Ryan. And to back that up, most of my rosters are very high on Keslowski plays. Some of them at most have only played him twice. So being said, there's very, very little reason why you shouldn't play Keslowski here. and with his name sprinkled throughout your bonus picks. In 12th is Kyle Busch, and in similar fashion to Denny Hamlin in the 2020 races, a horrible outing in the June race turned into an okay result in the November race. You'd have to go back to the October 2017 race to find the last time Busch won here, and for his other win here, that would be in April of 2016. I really don't hold Kyle as much as I do with Denny or Martin when it comes to playing JGR drivers at Martinsville, but seeing it as we're hitting a good stretch of good tracks for Kyle coming up here and Richmond, you could put the 18 car in the same boat as say the 2, 22, 12, 9, 19, or 11 as drivers that you should expect to get at least 40 points from. Like the rest of the drivers I've mentioned, there's plenty of races here in the past where Kyle Busch has scored double-digit stage points, but really it comes down to can Busch rebound from the lackluster results from the Bristol Dirt and weeks past, more so than how many uses you have left. For my first avoid for this week, it's Austin Dillon, and he's starting 18th, and really this could be applied for any other drivers that aren't exactly high profile and really don't have a whole lot of history at Martinsville, because in the last 6 races at Martinsville, the 3 cars only finished in the top 20 once, that being in the March 2019 race. If you're really looking for another Austin Dillon play, I wouldn't do it here, instead a week later at Richmond, and especially the week after at Talladega. Don't get too crazy with sleeper picks. I just get right to the chase and pick the higher profile drivers. Let those kind of drivers be your points cows for this week. I would put Kyle Larson in here on the same level as Austin Dillon, starting right behind him in 19th, because looking at Larson's Martinsville history, he has only one top 10 in the last 6 races here. Of course, he didn't compete in any of the 2020 Martinsville races, and in 2 of those 6 races, Larson has 37th place finishes, one of them being mechanical issues, the other being a crash, be really early. To put it short, these numbers don't exactly jump at me. Take the save play here with Larson, and take your chances at playing him to next week at Richmond. But if you're really curious with Larson at Martinsville, play him with caution, stash him in your garage, in a scenario where maybe you're still at 8 or more uses left. Teammate Alex Bowman is starting 20th, and one of my blind spot plays for the week. The driver of the 48 car has been putting in very good results as of late at Martinsville. In both 2020 races, he's finished inside the top 10, with that very quietly good result in last November's race, in that Planters Peanuts car. With him starting this far back, start him in your garage at best, because Bowman never got those 2 results from last year, with a starting spot outside the top 10. Still, Martinsville is always a long race, so Bowman should have plenty of time to get to the front. Will it be in time for some stage points? We don't know. But amongst the drivers all the way back here, I very much like Bowman's chances, but not as good as the driver right behind him, Kirk Bush, starting 21st. Before winning it in 2014, he has loathed Martinsville, and on numerous occasions through team radio has blatantly said this is one of his least favorite tracks. Ever since joining Chip Ganassi Racing in the 1 car, in the last 3 races at Martinsville, he's finished inside the top 9, and has quietly turned Martinsville into rather one of his more better tracks. If you're looking for a good deep ball play and it's coming from outside the top 20, this is the one you want to make. And assuming nothing crazy happens early on, Kirk Bush should march his way through the field and net yet another top 10 finish here, with some stage points, I assume. My final driver worth mentioning, Christopher Bell, starting in 23rd, and he's another avoid play for me this week. The reasons are pretty easy. He's never finished better than 15th in his 2 races here, and simply I like drivers with at least 6 starts here. Almost no driver has posted a good result in say just their 3rd Martinsville start. And that's especially with the Xfinity Series not coming here. So give Bell some time at Martinsville, cut right to the chase with the top drivers, and wait until Talladega to consider Bell again. And so for the lineups this race at Martinsville, you can go a number of different routes. You could, as I mentioned, go all in, no matter what use numbers you have, and pick the hottest drivers such as Hamlin, Blaney, and Byron. And for Jackuwarz 1, we're playing with that idea, albeit we'll have Hamlin in the bonus picks instead of the starters. Same strategy as Phoenix. I'll have Kirk Bush in the garage. Hopefully he still has a lot of Martinsville steam that he certainly had a lot of in both 2020 races. And just as a heads up, Keslowski and Blaney are going to be the cornerstone for all of my lineups this week, and Chase Elliott will only see no play and no Chevy, of course. Despite being at 7 uses left, I'm doing the Kyle Busch play here. After here in Richmond, there really isn't that many decent spots to play Busch, so you can give it your best chance at this stretch. Waste Elliott will introduce Martin Truex and Joey Logano instead of William Byron and Kirk Bush compared to Jackuwarz 1. For bonus picks, Waste Elliott has the duties of having Chase win and covering different combinations of Penske and Joe Gibbs drivers being the top manufacturers. In Pick Stenhouse, we did a really good job on getting the first 5 half of Ricky Stenhouse plays done, but I'm going to wait until Talladega to roll in the 6 plays with the 47 car. As for here, we'll have the 22, 24, and the 18 in conjunction with the cornerstone picks of Keslowski, Elliott, and Blaney. And you figure after seeing the last 2 weeks where his teammates won, naturally you'd think it would be Keslowski's turn to get his first win of the season. And at a track like Martinsville, that's very likely to happen. Either here or Richmond is a very good opportunity for Brad to break out with the win, although there's likely going to be a lot of competition between himself, Elliott, Truex, Hamlin, and his other 2 teammates as well. And really looking at the bonus picks, I think I might have given my best ones to this lineup. Elliott and Truex have been really strong at Martinsville and can easily lock down the top manufacturer spots. And having Ford and Team Penske win, that also covers the idea of maybe Logano or Blaney winning instead of Brad. So this lineup has a lot of scenarios covered with the bonus picks alone. No Chevy will go against my advice of not playing sleepers, with the presence of Chris Buescher and Matt DiBenedetto, just for some play saving. We'll roll out all 3 Penske drivers here, with a pinch of Kyle Busch, here in the starters and in the bonus pick. I suppose we can have Logano go back-to-back. Really, I'm not seeing Logano go back-to-back. I think he cools off this race. But then again, if Logano is to go consecutive wins, this is honestly the best stretch in the season for him to do so. If not here, then maybe a second win will come very soon at the following week at Richmond. A bit of an oddball pick is Kirk Bush to be at the top Chevrolet, but if somehow a non-Hendrick driver gets that honors, it's by default him, as the 2 Richard Childress cars really should be making a whole lot of noise here at Martinsville. And for Jackuwarz World Network, we gotta get something rolling. Difference between here and Jackuwarz 1 is Martin Truex over Kyle Busch, which should give this lineup a little bit more oomph than that one. This is also where usages will be a little bit taxing this week, as Blaney, Truex, and Logano for this lineup are all sitting at 7 uses remaining. Truex in particular, I'm taking a gamble on and banking on him getting his second win this week. I might be disservicing myself having Byron in the top Chevrolet over, say, Chase Elliott, but excluding Chase, William is the next in line driver to get that honors from the Hendrick camp. And of course Keslowski is a top Ford. He's easily the best Ford driver to get the top honors there. If not him, then I say Blaney. Alright, those are my picks. Very straightforward. I keep saying this every other week, but honestly, this is the week that should be an easy fantasy week, just because the top drivers are consistently good here. All the top drivers should equally have a good chance at winning also. Really comes down to which one is it. And so I have all my lineups with different winners. The green flag is 4:40 Pacific this Saturday night. I wish everyone better luck at fantasy this week, and I'll catch you next time.